Hello and welcome to this video about the capital YDi G80 action cam with built-in gyro, or also known as the NTK. I think the NTK is the main company that makes them, and they're made under different names, and this is the Y small I, capital Y small I 4K camera. Had a few emails about setting up the programs, and I thought I'd take you through it because it really is a piece of cake. Just let's get this switched on. And what you do is press that button there, clunk, click, and you should be on. There you go. You can see that on the front screen, but we will turn it round. Front button is on, off, and accept settings. The top button is obviously the shutter button, but it's also OK, to say OK. Now we'll have a look at this. There you are, you can see I'm in 2160p 24 frames per second. That means I'm in 4K. And it says on here it's the 8th of the 11th, 2017 at 09:53. And I won't argue with that, but we'll show you how to set it up going through the settings. Right, to activate the different menus you have to press the shutter button at the front, but before we do that let me show you there isn't an up and down button. And if you try to read the manual it says up and down, but there isn't. There's a button pointing to the right and a button pointing to the left. The one I use most is the one on the front of the camera pointing frontwards. And you'll see why in a minute, because it activates mini and sub menus. So here we go. I'll press the front button. That's this big one here. If I say front button, it's that one. If I say little front button or lens, nearest the lens, it's that one. So you don't get confused. And there's a menu. And you can see the orange marker, and the buttons at the top here move the orange marker. The front button moves it that way, and the back button moves it the other way. So we'll go into movie. That's accept with the top shutter button. And then go to the front of the small buttons. Always the front one to activate this, the sub menu. There. And you can see resolution. I'll bring the arrow down there so you can see it's pointing at resolution, and we'll open that. That's the shutter button to open it. And you have 4K, 2.7K, pretty good that one as well, 1080 by 60 frames per second, 1080 by 30 frames per second, and then you drop down to the 720 by 120 frames per second. That's brilliant for stopping fast action. And 720 by 60 frames per second. I'll just keep going and it'll go back to the beginning again, and I'll accept that. And then we go down to using the front button of the little ones, remember, to go down the menu. Loop recording is off. It will either be on or off, I think. I'll just check. No, you can have it recording for off, 2-minute loop, 6-minute loop, 10-minute loop. I don't need it, I don't use it, but it's there if you want it. Top button to accept. And then we go to time-lapse. I've got it off, don't use it. Will use it if I have to. The shutter button activates it, and there you have half a second, 1 second, 3 seconds, 6 seconds, 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or a minute. Go back up one, I'll accept off. And that's the shutter button to accept it. The front, the little button on the front, pointing forwards, takes us down to auto recording off. The shutter button takes us into that, and it's either off or on. I'll leave mine off except by pressing the shutter button. Right, down another one. And sound. Mine's is on. It's either on or it's off, and you access it by the shutter button. Wide dynamic range is next. I like the wide dynamic range. It's not too over the top, so I'll accept it, but I'll show you anyway. It's simply on or off. I keep mine on. It sorts out my photographs because I'm a rubbish photographer. But I like the effect of the wide dynamic range. It balances out shadows, so you get some detail in the shadows and some detail in the highlights. Driving mode, no, I'm not driving. I don't need it. I've got it on another camera, identical to this, in my car all the time. And then angle. This is angle of view, tantamount to having a zoom lens. I'll go into the menu, press the shutter button. Large is 170 degrees. That's a very, very wide angle, but similar to many of the action cameras. Medium drops it down to 140 degrees. Small drops it down to 120 degrees and tantamount to zooming in. I've done it on all three and all the pictures are perfectly sharp and I can't complain about any of them. It just saves you walking. But I do prefer to walk than use the zoom. So I leave mine on large, and if I need to zoom in, because I'm working in movie mode, I can get an 8 megapixel off an 8 megapixel sized photo off any frame. And that's thousands of frames. So I'll just stick with large. And then I can downsize it by a factor of 4 without it looking any different to a 1080. Good, innit? Shutter button to accept that. Motion detection off. We'll go in and have a look at that. This is how long you get your motion accepted for. 30 seconds and off, 1 minute and off, 5 minutes and off, and I'll accept off. Not using it, don't need it. Now the next one, night mode, is pretty darn good. And I'll show you, I'll open it. It's either on or it's off. Yeah, I'll put it off and leave it off, but you can go to on there. If you're taking photographs or videos at night, and I did to try it, it's very good indeed. It does pick up detail from whatever light there is, even moonlight. I was very surprised by it. But remember, if you're doing a fireworks night, which I've just done, switch it off, because it makes the fireworks far too bright. Seriously bright. So don't leave it switched on. Down one more to the date stamp. And we'll go and have a look at that. And it's either off, the date, or date and time. That's on your videos and or your still photographs. I'll leave mine off. And then press the front button to get out of this. Well, we'll go around one more to show you. We're back to where we started. Press the button on the front, the big one. Remember this one. And takes you out of there. Press it again. And here we go again. Into photo. Now I should tell you that it goes around. Many of the settings we've just set up you will see again as we go through this next menu. Photo, accept. That's the shutter button to accept it, and then it's the small button here on the front for facing forward. There you go. Image size 16mm. Okay, sorry. They are image size 16mm. Shutter button, and you can have it 16mm, 12mm, 8mm or 5mm, and that's your lot. You're back at 16mm. Shutter button to accept, and then the timer. As I say, you may have seen this, but there you go. This is for taking your still shots. It's 3 seconds after you press the shutter button. 10 seconds, 30 seconds, and off. So you can set the timer if you want to get in the shot, or you want things to be a bit slower for you, whatever, you can set it. Shutter button, down one, the burst, I set mine at 3. It's not something I use, but I leave it set at 3 if I'm in still mode. I'd sooner have 3 quick shots of it than none. So we'll go and have a look. It's 3 and 11. Very fast as that 11. I'll accept 3, press the shutter button, and then go down autophoto. Shutter button to go into that one. And there you are again, you see. It'll take photos every 3 seconds, every 6 seconds, every 10 seconds. And off. I'll accept off. Down again. RAW format. Now there's something interesting. My camera, this one, does RAW. The newer models that came out a week after I got mine, it's been removed because it's problematic. If you don't work in RAW, it's absolutely useless to you anyway. I do work in RAW. And I've been working with the tech guys at capital YI in China, with one in particular, and we're trying to sort the problem. I'm not very technical, but I've been around cameras and digital ever since they first come out, and they cost hundreds and hundreds of pounds for crap photos. But I do know my way around them, so I'd like the RAW to work, and I'm helping them and they're helping me, and we're switching around and trying things to try and get the answer. If we solve the problem, they will all have RAW put back on via software update online, so you won't miss out on it. If you don't want RAW, it doesn't bother me. I like it. Effects. Shutter button. And you've got normal, colour pencil, sketch, a thing called rock, and a thing called CSID. I don't know SID personally, so I'm not going to go and see him. I haven't got a clue, not tried them, not interested. You might be interested, go and try it yourself. We'll accept normal. Not that I'm normal. Now quality, that's the same as most digital cameras. You can have fine, normal or economy. I can't see the point in taking anything else except fine. Economy, if you've got small cards and you don't want to fill them up, fair enough, that's up to you. If you only ever post them and never print them, if you post them online and never print them. I do print mine. I'll use fine, and I've got a 64 gig card, which is the largest this camera can take. That's me. I'm never going to take the 7,000 photos I'm allowed in the fine mode, so I'll stick with it. Shutter button, down another one. This is the stamp. Shutter button, again it's off, date or date and time. I'll leave it off. Go down one more and you're back where you started. So we'll accept that lot. Press the shutter button on, not the shutter button, press the front button. The big one on the front. That's it, accepted. Press it again to get back into the menu, and we'll go across to time-lapse. Shutter button. Little button on the front, nearest the lens, and look, it looks very familiar, doesn't it? You've got resolution, we won't go into it, we've done it all. You've got a loop recording, we've looked at it. A time-lapse, we've looked at it. Auto recording, we've looked at it. Sound on. It's either on or it's off. I edit mine, so I keep it on, and I use a program called Audacity, which is an online free program for audio. Brilliant. Wide dynamic range, I always leave mine on. Driving mode off and angle large. You've seen all these just before here. And then you've got motion detection off. Night mode, I've got it off, and date stamp. So we'll accept all that and come out. And we'll go down, we'll come out of there and all. Right. Accept that, big button on the front. And then big button on the front again. And we'll come across to and down to burst. This is just a test. Instead of pressing the shutter button to accept it, I'm going to press the little button at the front. Right, forget that, cut it out. So we'll press the shutter button to go into burst mode. And then the small button on facing the front of the camera, that one there, remember? And you've got, looks very familiar, doesn't it? Image size timer, burst, autophoto, raw format, effects. Want to have a look at that? It's just what we saw before with SID at the end. Quality fine, the stamp is off. Image size 16mm, timer off, burst to 3, autophoto. So you can see a lot of the menu things relate to all the other menu things that you've looked at. So we'll press the shutter button and show you. That's the raw, it's just either on or off. So you please yourself if you want to use it. Now the big button on the front. And again. And we will go the other way to playback. I'm pressing the back button here to bring the orange arrow this way. And there it is on setup and now playback. Now I know I've got nothing on playback. But we'll press the button and it says on it, no file. Can't go anywhere, can't do anything. As you can see, the buttons won't work. No file, there's nothing on it. I don't keep stuff on my SD cards, my micro SD card. So we'll big front button and we'll go backwards again to setup menu. This is a little bit more involved now. Right, the Wi-Fi, it's straightforward like everybody else's Wi-Fi. You put everything down as you would on any camera. I don't use it, don't need it, but it's there if you want it, and it does work. I've tried. I'll just go back up to that Wi-Fi and open it. You can see it's either on or it's off. And then you want your Wi-Fi password. Must be fair, it's usually 0123456788. That's it. If it's not that, it's 012345678910. And that's your lot on that. My OSD I leave on. Frequency, I have 50 Hz. There's only 50 or 60 Hz. We'll go and look there, 50 or 60. I always have 50. White balance, I keep it on auto. But you can have auto, daylight, cloudy, tungsten, fluorescent and underwater. And the underwater one does work. I tried this camera in its waterproof case in a fish pond that was clear, and it took the different colours out that shouldn't be there, like the greens and the reds, but left the pond looking very clear. Shutter button to come out of that. And down one, ISO, I've got it set on 200. I only use 100 or 200. If I need 1600, I'm out at night and I use the night mode. So we'll go and have a look at that. And there you are, I'm on 200. And there's 1, 2, 4. And then you've got 8 and 1600. You can leave it on auto. I like mine on 200. I like to know what I'm doing. I'll accept that. Colour. Open. You get colour, black and white or sepia. That's it. So if you want to change it, you can do it in camera. I do all post-production work in Corel, Video Studio 10 or Corel PaintShop Pro 9, and I can take my colour and make them black and white or sepia. So I do all my production work at the computer. Down another one. Sharpness, strong. That's strong, mild and weak. I just leave it on strong. If I don't like it, I take it out in post. Exposure. You can have plus 0.5, 1, 1.5 or 2. And you can have minus. As you can see. 5, 10 and so on. And you just go around in circles. I just leave mine on 0, 0. I don't need it, but it's there if you want it. The gyro. Brilliant bit of kit. Adore it. I got this camera because of the gyro. I do have, what do they call them, a gimbal, an FYWG, a wearable gimbal, and that is very good with all my other action cameras. And I paid for it by selling my GoPros, because my GoPros aren't as good as this one, and they cost 3 or 4 times more. So I just leave that on. That's it. Why would I ever want to switch it off? Even on a tripod, I just leave it on. It doesn't matter. Auto power. That's normal on most cameras. It's just when the camera switches off itself. 1 minute, 5 minutes and 10 minutes. I'll leave mine on 10 minute, press the shutter button to accept. Screensaver, I keep it off, I don't need it. 10 minutes my camera switches off. If I'm not using it, that's good enough. Now date and time. This is it, and as you can see it's set up. I'll use the little arrow, the orange one that says in 2017. And you see it's gone down to 16, 15. Up to 18. Once you've found something, you accept it on the shutter button and it moves along. 10, 13, 35 seconds. Day, month, year. Good enough for me. It's alright. It does alter when you take the battery out, so you have to reset it. Not a big problem. The beep sound. I keep it on. It's on or off. Languages. You have English, French, Spanish, German. You have Portuguese and Italian, and then we get to the Far East languages. I won't profess to understand what these languages are. If you speak them, you know what they are. I think that's Greek. Don't know. Polish and even Vietnamese. I'll stick to English because I'm Scottish, and the best language for me is probably English rather than Gaelic. Nobody knows what I said, and it's just as well. Right, we'll accept that. Image rotation. I think you get the picture. I'll leave it off, I don't use it. And then format. I always format my new cards in the camera that I'm using it in. If I change cards, I format it again to the camera I'm using. The car. I don't use it on this camera, but I do have one fitted in my car. Delay turn off. That's all to do with the car again. Default setting. No, I don't want to go to default. Version. And here's where you see it's an NTK 8660/F series 2017 08 23rd of the 8th 2017 version 4. It's pretty darn new, and they've still got the cover on the back, as you can see. I'll leave it on till it falls off, and we'll accept that. And we'll press the big button on the front again. And that's it. You've been right through it. Now, if we turn this around, you'll see what it says on that little screen at the front. Let me just get closer. Now, each time I press this little button here, what the back screen sees, the front screen sees in a very miniature version. You see it's gone through them. Tells you what you're in, HDR, high definition range, and so on. they are, night time, your card. It relates to everything we've just been through. And that's back on video and auto. So I'll switch off now, a 1 second hold and it's gone. And that's it. Bit of a neat camera. You've got your microphone up there. You have your speakers there, your SD card, micro, your HD lead, your USB lead, and the battery is the easiest one I've ever had. No fiddly things with little catches, it just slides on and off. Now the camera does come with a rather neat bit of kit. Look at this. Forget your normal remotes. This is better than all of them. It's like a wristwatch and it's comfortable to wear. You have still, cine, on and off, on and off. And that switches your camera off for you. It doesn't switch it on, but it means you're never in danger of switching it on accidentally, which is a good thing. But you can switch it off from here. And I've never had a remote that does that. So there you go. It comes with 2 batteries and a load of the fittings that you normally expect with these cameras. Mine are still in a polythene bag, I don't need them. A gimbal, and I've got a very long pole, about 20 odd feet long, that I use in sections. And I stick the gimbal and this camera on and I get the most steady shots that look like they've been taken from a drone. You can't complain about that. Hope you enjoyed the video. That's the lot for now. Cheerio, bye bye, and ta-ra the new Jimmy. Sorry about this, but you can see I'm having a real bad hair day.